button is written. The Hangout on air is live.
Live.
Hi, good
Live.
evening to everyone. It does say live. Little yellow button on the corner of my screen to the power of Google. It helps me to get into your screen and all across the world. Welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode 3. No, I'm sorry, 3. Trace. Trois, as they say on Bon Français.
I was going to say, yes.
As they say in French. Hello and good evening to everyone, and thank you again for tuning in to another episode, another wonderful meeting, another what promises to be an exciting show of the DayLight webcast. I am, of course, your host, Olivier D, and I do thank you for joining me and the 30-year photography veteran straight out of Newport Beach, California, David Esquire. Thank you so much for being here, David. It's good to see you again. Welcome back. It's so good to have you here again for another episode of what promises to be a great show. It's going to be fun-filled, a lot of content, as you saw in the show notes, so we got a lot of stuff to get into. Of course, we had our main topic today, which is basically social media for photographers. Again, there's so much to be said about the topic of social media is basically part of our lives. This little thing called a phone is basically what gets you connected to everywhere. You need your news, that's where it is. And again, that's where your clients are. We're only going to focus on what the priorities are for photographers in general, because there are things that I think, unfortunately, with technology having taken over our lives, there are a lot of things that even some of us, as seasoned as they are, do take for granted. So we want to get into that, and I want to get your insight, basically, because we know you have a very strong presence on all social media, because you are basically everywhere. And I really want to play a ping pong match where we're going to see basically, okay, how do you address this, or how do I address that? And basically, there's a pro and a con to everything. But we're definitely going to try to give people as much insight as we can. Of course, we're going to end a little bit of photo news, because there's some interesting. There's an interesting article I read over, again, the matter of basically content theft and misuse of your work. And that's why we always keep talking about this. Is something we always try to drive home with all our viewers, and I'm sure you agree. Whereas we're trying to help people understand that your work, no matter how big or small, has worth, and the importance of written consent and contracts. But we're not going to take into everything. There's a few surprises, so if you guys stick around to the end of the hour, definitely there's little news and little tidbits and Easter eggs, I like to call them, that you're definitely going to appreciate, because you'll show you guys that we do listen to you and your comments, and we always thank you for all your presence and awesome feedback, whether on Facebook or Twitter or everywhere. So again, thanks to you, and let's just get the show going. David,
hello.
You're on the spot because, lo and behold, Esquire Photography was in Calcutta, India. First time in India, shooting David and Shriradha's wedding. And you were gone for quite a while. We missed you online, but Christine was very awesome in just keeping us informed. I'm sure you had a lot of great memories to talk about. I really want to get into the cultural influences and how that was impactful for you, how that maybe impacted your photography in terms of course, push it forward, and what are the differences between shooting in North America versus shooting directly in India, because we do know that Indian weddings can get very elaborate in terms of both culture and processes and basically the rituals. That's what the words I was looking for. So I really want to get your input on that. But thank you for, you're at least welcome back, because you're back safe and sound.
Yes.
And so tell us about how did that go? How did that go? So just take me through the travel. How long was the flight? And was it difficult getting there? Was there layovers? And what was your first reaction getting there, David?
It was really intense. It was roughly almost a 3-day flight for me to get there. I had a 15-hour layover in Singapore, which for me was great, because the Singapore airport has so many amenities in it, from a complimentary movie theater, there's different restaurants, shopping, gardens, there's a pool, a butterfly garden. There's a lot that's there. Right, absolutely. Yeah, there are people that will travel to Asia, but they will go specifically through that particular airport in Singapore, and I can see why. It really made my 15-hour layover a lot more comfortable. So by the time I got to Calcutta, it was pretty late in the evening on Thursday, because I lost a day when I was traveling because of the time difference. And I settled in, and the following morning, right on Friday, boom, got right up, and the entire process started from there, with a reception, like an afternoon lunch reception, and then later that evening we were able to do a little bit of shopping. I really wanted to embrace the culture in terms of the language, the fashion. As you can see, I'm wearing a traditional kurta.
I noticed that. I didn't want to bring it up, but I do notice that you're actually in
Yes.
ritual attire, and that's you
Yes.
look very dapper, I must say. Is that the outfit they expected you to wear? Because again, I can imagine you don't want to sit out in slacks and jeans or a suit or anything,
Right.
but that's the appropriate garment if I can imagine.
Absolutely. And they were very happy and excited that I really wanted to embrace that particular style for the ceremonies for the entire weekend, because it could have been just me showing up and wearing dress slacks, Western attire like we have here in the United States. And they were very happy to see me wanting to embrace their style and their fashion. And it was amazing. It was absolutely a blast. It was the best way to describe the 3 days of shooting. It was like a marathon. And as it was brought up to my attention, that it was only about 25% of what normally would have gone down for a traditional Indian ceremony. So there would have been a lot more. Oh, totally serious. Totally serious. There would have been close to 1,000 people instead of the 260. There would have been about 5 to 7 days worth of ceremonies and different celebrations and different particular rituals and things like that. And I was like, well, let's do it. But that would have been very elaborate, and it would have been a very big taxing situation for a lot of the family members, because people did come in from all around the world. People were coming in from Mumbai. We came in from different locations here in the United States. So it would have been very taxing, but just still, 3 days to be in Calcutta, India was a phenomenal experience for me. And with India being one of my mother's favorite countries that she never had an opportunity to go to, I had dedicated this entire experience in her name. So I wanted to, for me, it just felt like it was that much more of an extension of me, and I felt like I was shooting for her and doing a lot more for the family. And
so for you particularly, it was a very close and emotional. It basically hit home. Basically, it was an emotional experience for you.
Yes, yes, it was very, very emotional. And because I'm pretty close to Shriradha and David, that closeness was there, that bond was there, and then their family saw how close we were as well. So a lot of the apprehensions that can come from, well, this American photographer is coming into our country. Is he going to adapt to our ways and our cultures and things like that? And it was just a hand-in-glove experience. It truly, truly was. And I'm thankful. It forever changed me. There's quite a bit that I'm excited to be able to share with you, not just from the wedding, but from my little adventure the last day before I left, or the day that I was leaving, I should say. Had a bit of an adventure, a little bit of sightseeing, things like that. We'll talk about that maybe if we have time.
If we have time. But I love that word that basically you brought up about, you said the word connection. So you connect with Shriradha and David. So it's something, there's the kinship, there's the respect, there's the genuine affection that we want to build. And we stop calling them our clients. They're basically our bride and groom. They become our friends. They're people we care about. It's not just about photographing their wedding. It's about being a part of their special day. And for this, it's total. It's for them. It's an event every single day. Whether it's a church wedding or across the street or international wedding, it's always a significantly emotional experience. And there's always the way we connect with our clients. So for you, what did you take away from that experience? Do you feel like you've grown a friendship? Do you feel that this is going forward? Like these are people. Again, this is a part of your life as well, because you're not just photographing the wedding. You are part of the moment.
Right. I would have to say that I'm looking forward to my next experience going back. The family members were very welcoming with me. I had a blast with them. I'm in contact with numerous family members and friends on Facebook and through social media. And even during one of the ceremonies, during the course of the weekend, the bride and groom would get anointed with a turmeric. It's like a little bit of a lotion. They put a little bit right here, and then it's just in different parts of the face. And the turmeric was being applied to Shriradha, and then the lady who was applying it to her, I was standing there taking pictures. She turned around and then anointed me, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, yeah." So that's kind of different life for me. Yeah, exactly. So, like you were saying,
you're not just a vendor. You're not just part of the service. You're not just here to do a job. You are basically part of this whole thing.
Yes. Absolutely. I felt more like a family member with a camera that was there documenting the event. And because of it being me with my Google Glass and everything else that I had on me, I definitely was excited to be able to capture as much video as I could throughout the entire weekend. And I did, and that challenged me to see how far I could push myself, being able to be conscientious of capturing different moments with glass, but then also not lose the fact that I'm there to document the day through a camera. The glass is just an add-on. It's just a little bit extra. But I was able to capture enough footage to where I literally have, I would have to say, a short film of the entire time that I was there, from the minute that I was walking into the airport at LAX to actually coming back into LAX and picking up my luggage. It just everything from photos to video, everything being captured through glass. And then, of course, my DSLR that I was there. But there's a lot that I also learned on this trip, because I do travel quite a bit internationally to Europe. One of the biggest things that I really want to convey to a lot of people out there, a lot of other photographers, is to be aware of the weight limits. Weight limits are really getting strict, to the point where I almost was going to have to check my bag when I was returning from India. And that made me a little bit nervous, but there was an attaché that was there from Singapore Airlines, and so he was able to help me get through that. But my backpack, my think tank backpack, definitely was, I knew it was over. When they announced the weight limits when I was at LAX,
you knew it was over.
I was like, I was ready to put lenses in my pockets, put my camera around my neck. And I wasn't even traveling that heavy either. I didn't bring all of my gear. But eventually, the lenses and the camera bodies and all the batteries and cables and everything that you dump in there, it does take its toll, and the weight does start to increase pretty fast.
It adds up. So logistically speaking, if we're going to just get a little bit techie here, because again, we have to talk about the gear, because this is an international wedding. Because for any photographer, by any measure, you mentioned 260 people being the overall head count. By any measure, that is a tall order. So even as a single photographer, because a lot of people would just go second shooter or something, but you chose to take on the bull head on. And I commend you for that. So in terms of gear, so did you find yourself limited? Did you have to make some compromises? Was there some stuff that you thought that maybe, you know what, maybe I next time I don't need to bring that? Or do you consider yourself overly cautious? You can't be in terms of a wedding, but you understand what I'm getting into. Like, where, in terms of planning and logistically speaking, in terms of prep, what do you take away from this?
The one lens I probably would have left behind that I felt was over-prepared was my 24-70, because I do use my 28-300L a lot. But this particular experience, I probably didn't really need to have that lens, but it's always a good backup that I like to have on me. So I would have eliminated that, and that would probably been the only glass, because I didn't take a whole lot of glass. My 16-35 got used so much. Wait till you see. There was just the way that I wanted to capture the event and some of the small spaces that I was working within. Definitely the 24-70 wouldn't have worked. The 28-300 wouldn't have worked. I was totally rocking the wide-angle lens. And the fisheye definitely wouldn't have worked because of, obviously, the distortion. So that would have been something that I would have done a little bit differently. In terms of the number of people, about 250 is my limit for me to be able to handle for a crowd. Anything over 250 to 300, I would have liked to have had somebody else there, but because the way it was all spread out and the way that the venue was located and everything was just in different locations at this particular venue, I was able to move about quite a bit and be able to capture a ton of photos, and captured pretty much almost everybody that was there. And plus, by the time the actual formal ceremony came up on the second day, a lot of people were very comfortable with me, and they were totally wanting me to be in their photos, and I can't imagine how many photos I'm going to be in pretty soon.
There's always that initial presentation or that initial meeting with the photographer, because you walk in as a guest or as a family member or as a cousin, and basically, okay, he's the guy with the camera, and then over a weekend, over 3 days, it goes from being that's the photographer to, hey, David. So that's why I cannot emphasize enough. If you want to be shooting weddings, if you want to be covering events, especially where people are involved, especially these significant events, you better be a people person. You better know how to talk to people. And don't hide behind your camera. Don't hide behind your lens. You have to be able to connect, because these are the people who are actually looking forward to, believe it or not, people want to take good photographs. They got ready. They got dressed in their wonderful attire just to be part of those photographs. But they're not just going to come up to you. They have to know, I'm not sure, am I bothering him? Because you've noticed that there are those photographers that you're basically feeling like you're disturbing them for being part of the photo, but it's kind of your job. So also be part of the event. So it's very important for you as photographers, and always remember that, to be a part of that experience, because you do not want to be that guy that made it awkward for the photo, and it's going to bleed through your end result, and the bride and groom are going to notice. and that's very important. So it's very important. So I was just mentioning showing your photos, but the 260, it just basically spun out because 260 people. You better know what you're doing, and you better have a good idea of what is possible and what is not possible. So don't try to be a cliffhanger, because again, you do not want to be missing your shot, because again, a lot of people, and I'm sure you've experienced this, the first thing a bride and groom look at in the final result, who did you miss? Who did you miss? Because again, and this hits home as far as our wedding was concerned, and it was such an emotional experience when we got our pictures back, because there was a family member basically on my wife's side, her cousin, unfortunately, who was struck with cancer, and it was the last photo we had of her dancing and smiling, and it was at our wedding, and afterwards, unfortunately, she passed on a few months afterwards, and we still look back at those photos like, you know what? At least we have that. At least we get to remember that. And we can only thank the photographer for being a part of that, because you're not thinking about that at the moment, but down the road, 10 years or 20 years later, these are the memories you're going to leave your bride and groom with. And this is something that you're supposed to consider every single time.
Absolutely. I've got several of my clients that are now good friends of mine over the past 5 and 10 years, to where several of their family members had become ill, and that's a lot of weddings over that period of time, but they've either become ill or a grandparent, and it's like that last portrait at the wedding. That's the last photograph, and several other events that are like that, so you want to make sure you do capture as much as possible. In fact, finding myself getting immersed into the actual time, immersed in with the family and the friends and everything, for me comes naturally. I don't know how, it just does. I love the parties.
You're very approachable. You're very approachable. You're bubbly and you're lively and you're all good-natured person, and that shows in both your work and your personality. And for some people, that's all they need.
It's fun, and it helps people relax. And then to be able to kid around with everybody that's there. My nickname by the end of the weekend was Mr. Google, because of the Google Glass. It's like there was that going on.
How was that? How did people respond to that?
Oh, it was great. It was totally great. A lot of people knew what it was, because it was a bit of a younger generation that was there, so they were very much wanting to know about it, have their picture taken wearing it, and things like that. And then the people that didn't know, then we explained it to them. Excuse me. My voice still hasn't quite come back. I've been back for about a week, but it's still not 100% yet. And they were very excited about it when they learned of it, to realize, wow, it's basically like your iPhone on your face in a way. And it was a perfect shoe-in for conversations. It gave people an opportunity to talk about something a little bit different. I liked it, and they enjoyed it as well.
Did you by any chance come across any other glass explorers in India, or was it the only? No. Not at all.
Not one. I saw one when I was coming back from Atlanta about a month ago, and he got on the plane, and we both kind of went, hey, and we were taking pictures at each other. But that was it. I've never bumped into another glass explorer when I'm out on the road or traveling. Not yet, at least, I should say.
So far, it's still a very niche product. And again, Google is probably still taking its time to actually make sure that they cater it to the right audience, and how getting the feedback from the explorers like yourself, just to know what's the best way to push the product. But again, it's getting a lot of notoriety, and again, it's getting a lot of great adoption, because if you just look over the blogosphere, the Technorati are really promoting it, and it's something that promises to change the game considerably. I really think so. Something that's really going to make a mark. But if I want to get into anything, from your experience doing all these weddings, did you find yourself making a comparison between a North American experience versus an Indian experience? What stands out? Again, from the sheer number, elaborate colors and the rituals, but just basic comparison that you might make in your experience. What would you say you took away from that experience?
You had to go there. Yeah, I love it. Here's where we get to really. Here's where I just go right to the bottom line. Seriously, and it's not for everybody. I'll just say that. But seriously, I pretty much, and I'm considering it. It's not final. Don't quote me on it yet. But I'm on a fence right now. Very much on a fence after all the cultural weddings that I've had the opportunity of photographing throughout my career, and I'm seeing it more and more now. I really want to hang up my lenses for American weddings.
Okay.
I'm the whole cookie cutter. We have to shoehorn everything into a 6-hour day. It's not for me. It
Okay.
really isn't.
The
And
one-stop shop, one formula, A to Z. Okay, let's get it done. Let's just box everything in. Let's make it happen.
right. It's so not for me. I felt so much like with Shriradha and David's wedding and with so many other weddings that I've covered in the past, when there's a lot of attention to detail, when there's a lot of special moments in it, that's great. And I feel a part of it because this is a part of my life as well. But a lot of the like what I refer to as like the Orange County type of a wedding, you know, where it's like dry white toast. It's like you have your cake cutting, your garter, your bouquet, blah blah blah, very within a box, and it just seems very unemotional. It's like when people go to church and they're like, "Oh, we have to clap now." It's like, you know, that type of thing. Going to Shriradha and David's wedding and being immersed in just, I mean, literally immersed, like head over, you know, just boom, with culture and with religion and very, very specific things that have meaning. It was very powerful for me. It was very, very powerful for me. And as I'm editing the photos, because I've got nearly 8,500 photos from my entire trip, hours of video footage, and I'm a good 2,900, maybe 3,100 photos in right now.
Okay.
And
So
I
you're
see
really
it in
into
the
the
work.
grind right now. Like, we're really into the
Right.
grind.
Right. I'm knee deep in the photo editing right now, and I really see it in the work because it took on a much deeper meaning for me, and so that connection was there, and I'm seeing more and more that I want that connection with my clients, and I really want that connection with the ceremonies. So that was probably the biggest thing. I mean, literally, I have a video from behind the scenes when I was at Atlanta for the Mehendi and Sangeet, and I just spelled it out telling American brides and grooms, you need to step it up. You know,
You really need to step it
seriously,
up.
you know, just really, you know, get on it and have a little bit of meaning to it, because the whole, you know, just generic brown paper bag wedding style, it's just so boring. It really,
It
I'm
gets
just being blunt.
monotonous.
It's
It gets.
boring.
You have no shame. You should have no shame in being blunt, because I do understand exactly what you mean. Because you feel what there's no connection. It's not just about get a dress, get a tux, get a groom, get a church, get a limo, get a cake, make it all happen and capture it. It's, again, I get it's a process and it's a show, but at the same time, when you feel that the event in itself, again, like you said, it's boxed in. It's boxed in, and we're lacking that emotional connection with the event. As photographers, when you are able to step beyond the journalist or the spectator, and you're actually part of the event as a participant, is the word I'm trying to look for.
Yes.
And you forget that you're taking pictures. Like you said, you're a member of the family capturing this moment, and you're aware that there's a difference, and it's very important to be aware of that. And when you stop thinking about it and you realize that, you know what, this matters right now. You know what? Take a second. Put down your shoes. You know, just let's just walk. Let's just talk about. You guys just talk. I'm not here. Just take photos. It's just like you stop thinking about it. And again, you come off it more as a guest than the photographer. Yeah, basically, you could have actually just been the same person going at the same title as any guest. The only difference is that you're the guy that had the camera most of the time. And it's perfectly okay. And it did not bother people, because some people might be just uncomfortable. But again, that connection, I totally understand what you mean. Because for something as emotional as a wedding, and American weddings having that cookie cutter, as you say, formula, it gets dated. It gets dated.
And it makes it difficult for us as creatives, because at the end of a wedding season, and it's more so like the season in different parts of our country, to where it's like, okay, well, we have to be able, you know, we can shoot from like March to September, and then the rest of the year is out because the weather kind of blows.
The weather
so
kind of
you
blows.
get to the end of a season, and it's like, how do I make something look so much more amazing? How do I continually up myself if I'm provided the same bland dry white toast of a template to work with for a wedding? It really gets more and more difficult. So for Shriradha and David's wedding, there was no template, and there was no formula, and it was more of me documenting the event and capturing portraits. A lot of the stresses that are involved with American weddings, where by the end of the ceremony, everything has been running late, and the photographer has provided 20 minutes instead of an hour for portraits. Those types of things don't happen in a lot of the cultural weddings that I've been able to photograph, from Chinese ceremonies to Indian weddings. Yeah, and it really makes a difference. And not only that, but it's a lot more free-flowing. There's a lot more interaction with the cameras. People had cameras all over the place, but it wasn't a mob scene. It was like, okay, David's doing his job, and people would back up. There was a little bit more respect for that, and I do think that that's also a regional thing. Well, it's a conscientious thing, but it's also a regional thing because cameras aren't going to be everywhere in certain countries around the planet to where everybody doesn't have a cell phone, everybody doesn't have a DSLR.
Makes perfect sense.
Orange County in Southern California, it's like everybody's got the pro-level Canon cameras. Everybody's got the pro-level Nikon cameras because of the disposable income. But that doesn't mean they know how to use it. So
Obviously.
there was a different level of respect going on at the wedding as well. And it was great. It was seriously, there was no pressure. And I was there to document the event a lot more freely. And I'm telling you, I came back just kind of going, I'm tired. I was exhausted, completely exhausted, because it was a very, very fast trip for me.
Sure.
But it was worth every minute. It really was. And I think that having done enough international travel in the past and knowing what it takes to prepare for the event and for the trip and the different supplements to take for nutrition, the different steps and different measures to take to prepare for the trip, it really helped me as well. Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things I love to take are charcoal tabs. That just keeps your body healthy the whole time.
It keeps you going.
It really makes a big difference.
It's good for your system because, again, you don't know what type of environment you're going to be subjected to because, again, being from North America going into India, you don't know. It's a different type of mentality, different type of weather, different type of food. Again, there's a lot of stuff you haven't been exposed to primarily, but we're happy that you actually got back. You should. Totally. I'm giving you an out. Do you want to talk about your little anecdote, or do we save that for later, for another interview?
Oh no. Oh no, I can talk about it now if you want. Sure, if you got the time, man.
Might as well, because again, that was so funny because David and I were talking off air about a wonderful little. Well, I can't call it wonderful. Well, now we can laugh about it, but I'm sure that at the moment it's rather weird experience. But I'm gonna let you get into it, David. So you were visiting a location, and glass almost got you in trouble?
Yes. It was pretty intense. I was at the Victorian Gardens in Kolkata, and it's this gorgeous, gorgeous building. The British Empire had made it back in the day when they were taking over India, and in this particular garden and in the museum itself, in the actual structure, there's no photography allowed, like whatsoever. Like not even with your cell phone, put it away. And I'm like, all right,
so
no problem.
Clearly written, no photography. Oh, yeah. It's obvious. There's no confusion
it was on
whatsoever.
The ticket. Yeah, there's signs everywhere. There's security and guards everywhere, guns, everything. It was definitely like they had this place on lockdown. And I can respect that, and I can appreciate that because I know what it's like to be in a situation where I want somebody to respect my wishes. So that's cool.
Their house, their rules.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. So I put my Nokia 1020 in my pocket. I'm like, that's cool. I'm walking around. I got glass on. I had my sunglasses on, but I took them off, and I didn't even think about it. And I'm not walking around going, shh, doing any of that. I'm just being respectful. I'm with family. I wanted to be able to enjoy the moment. And I also learned a bit because Shriradha's father came with us, and he's basically the Wikipedia. He's like the internet of Calcutta. It's amazing. The man is just a wealth of knowledge. And so I want to learn a lot about Kolkata and the different history and things like that. So we're walking through the building, and we're enjoying it. We're about to leave. We are 2 steps out the door, and the garden was right in front of us. And I thought, okay, I'm on the stairs. We're out of the building. It's cool. You can take a photograph in the garden because at that point you're outside, and it's allowed in this portion. And there are other people out there taking photos. I'm like, all right. So I, boom, took a little photo. No big deal.
No big deal.
A very small swarm of people came by, and I'm very thankful.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's so not funny, but I can't imagine. Oh my God.
And I'm like easy going. I'm trying to tell him. I'm like, no. And I'm showing him my phone. I'm like, look, the phone was put away. This is off. Everything was cool. I'm a professional. I respected the property. I respected the venue, and they were very adamant. They thought that I was taking photos. I'm like, no. I mean, it's like I got my entire library, none. And it was just so interesting how that happened, like the different culture, because they didn't, only one person and the entire security guard crew knew what it was, and that's how he called it out. And they wanted to detain me. They wanted to confiscate my glass, and it was pretty scary. This was probably one time where I was like,
carry you away for shooting at a location.
For not shooting at a location.
For not shooting.
Yeah. Really. So I do encourage other people, if you're a glass user, and everybody knows that I'm not a glass hole it's like I'm more than happy to help educate, and I'm very respectful of different locations and helping everybody else understand.
There is that legitimate concern, like, is he shooting me? Are you filming me? Are you shooting me? Are you filming me?
So I definitely want to encourage anybody else that's out there that's using glass, or you are a photographer, or you do have your cell phone with you, whatever it might be. Take glass, put it up on your head. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. If you have your cell phone, put it in your pocket. If you have a camera, sling it or put it in your bag. Totally respect, the particular venue's wishes, because this literally could have prohibited me from coming back from India. I could have wound up in jail for all I know. I don't know, but I was very thankful that Shriradha's father.
You didn't have to find out.
Yeah, I didn't want to find out. But it adds to the experience. I mean, it's like, even though I wasn't shooting and I was being very respectful, they still had this, well, he could have been. And, it was explained to them that I wasn't numerous times, because it went on for about 30 minutes, this whole discussion back and forth. And it ended, quite nicely. I'm here. I'm home.
Obviously.
Had Shriradha's father not been there, it probably would have ended a little bit differently. And
I'm sure it would have been.
Having right now would be different.
I'm sure it would have been. It's nothing to laugh at. It's no laughing matter, because again, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know the culture, you don't know the language, and again, if we're just taking it from a tourist perspective, you don't know where you are, and again, you're just being innocent, like you said, the way you described it. I'm outside. I'm on the steps. I believe this is a public location. Might as well. It's cool. It's just shooting. Okay. But no, it's not. No, it's not. You just never know. You just never know.
It was cool where I was. It was cool where I was, but they thought I was shooting indoors.
Indoors. And you weren't shooting indoors, and you had to explain, and there was a lot of explaining to do. And again, it goes back to, again, where's public, where's private, where does that line draw, does that line end? And it's going to be a debate that's going to go on for quite some time. It's something that's why we're seeing a lot, because we're seeing a lot of glass videos everywhere. That's why a lot of people are trying to photograph law enforcement, and again, trying to prove certain circumstances. That's going to happen, and that's what keeps going on, and that's why you have your eye in the sky, and constantly it's going to keep going on, because right now the people are the big brother. The users are the big brother. The cameras are everywhere, and something you're going to have to get used to. It's going to promises to be a very interesting discussion for the years to come, because glass is only going to get better and and again, you posted that I believe it was Epson that glass,
Epson has one.
Epson has one. So because I believe they opened up the glass API, so slowly but surely manufacturers are going to make their own version, and we're going to see a lot more of them. But we're not going to call them knockoffs. We're just going to call them, again, sister units. Again, alternatives. Yeah. And it's something that promises to change the game in the way we look about mobile photography and how we choose to capture the world around us. This is the next virtual reality. This is what's going to happen. My God, that was such an animated discussion. I knew we'd get so much out of this, but we're making good time. Time. What I wanted to get into, let's not lose track of our initial subject of conversation, was basically social media. We're going to get to the photos maybe a little bit later if we still have time, but we really want to get into that. The last episode we left off, on episode 2, we actually left off on basically the importance of social media, because we know it does, and it does matter. We're looking at it from the photographer's perspective, how to get more clients, how do clients perceive me, how to get my work out there, how to protect my work, how to make sure I'm marketing to the right people, how to make sure I'm marketing right, how to rebrand myself if I have to, how to make myself more noticeable, how to address my clients properly, how to market myself to the right type of clientele, because you don't want to service the wrong client, and that's always wrong, because again, we talked about connecting with your clients again, and again, where there's no fit. But you're not rejecting anyone. You're running your art and craft, but you're also running a business. The people who really take it seriously, because you always have your serious, the enthusiast, and then you have the business, because again, you have to take both sides of the camp. So let's get right into it. And this is the holy grail of the question: is there such a thing as the best social media platform? I don't think so. Because I believe, I really don't think so, because I believe that certain platforms are popular for a particular reason. Pinterest took on a life of its own. I have to say, I didn't believe in Pinterest in the beginning, but I do see where Pinterest makes a strong case for picking up different ideas and basically putting them together and comparing them, especially from a bride's perspective. Oh, I love these flowers. Oh, I love this cake. My wife loves Pinterest. She's on Pinterest like all the time. She's planning our baby's first birthday. She's coming up on 1 year now, so my wife is just like all crazy over Pinterest. It's like crazy. Facebook. Facebook has always been there. Facebook is part of our lives. 6 million or 700 million users going strong. Today it came out the news that they bought the little mobile communication WhatsApp. They bought WhatsApp for 16 billion.
Yes.
That's a lot of zeros.
That's like 0, 0, 0, 0.
That's a lot of zeros, and that really shines a light on the Instagram acquisition. So that's like peanuts compared to 16 billion for WhatsApp. It's crazy. It's crazy. But Facebook is here to stay. Facebook is part of your life. Facebook is every single website you want to sign into. They make it simpler for you to sign in with Facebook. So chances are your clients are on Facebook. So take notice of that. Yes. We're talking Twitter. And this, I believe that every single type of user has its own language. You should not be using even what we're on right now, Google+. Your clients are also on Google+, but the user on Google+ and the user on Facebook are not the same. I'm not sure if you agree. It's different type of language, and you really need to know the law of the land. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
I totally know that there are different environments for all the different social media programs that are out there. And actually, Facebook's a little bit bigger. Facebook's at 1.2 billion people right now. It's insane. 1/7 of the planet's population is on Facebook.
It is on Facebook.
Like a lot of people. That's bigger than countries. I mean, that's absolutely huge. So we've got that. And then, like you were saying, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest. There's a lot of different I don't want to say venues, but I like to think of them as like an arena. Like this is how I speak in this particular
way. It's a nice comparison. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because it kind of is. It's like the way I talk on Twitter is not going to be the same as the way I'm going to be on Facebook. And then the different pages that I have on Facebook, and then Google+, and Quora, and everything else. There's an understanding how to write for those particular platforms as well. And Twitter is probably the best one out there that can help anybody articulate their message. You've got 140 characters. You need to squish it in there. You need a really big shoehorn to figure out who, what, when, where, why in 140 characters. And it's got to
make an impact. It has to be clear, concise, and direct. There should be no question as to what you're saying.
Right. Absolutely. And there's like little tricks that you can do to help expand the content on different platforms. Like LinkedIn just opened it up to where no longer is it the influencer base on LinkedIn that is allowing for very lengthy conversations. Now anybody can be able to write up a little bit of a longer post.
It was great when they did that.
Right, I was really excited that they did that. You've got so much that's out there, and then making sure that you're getting your content out there in a manner that is amicable for each of those particular platforms. For me, I use them all in a sense like advertising, branding, keeping everything consistent, but it has to be within that particular parameter. Like on Google+, I'm able to have a lot more of a meatier conversation with people that gets down to like the brass tacks. I don't have to worry about people's feelings getting hurt and toes getting stepped on because everybody that is, I don't want to say everybody, but everybody that I've personally had conversations with on Google+ has been a professional or has been of a mindset that, hey, I'm here to learn. I'm here to dilate my mind.
There's that peer dialogue on Google+ that I enjoy, as different from Twitter, where you're talking about the 140 characters, where basically you're standing on a soapbox and broadcasting to a wide variety of people. Where Google+ changed it for me is basically, again, you have a longer, and I invite a lot of people who are curious about Google+, who are still taxing it out as like a secondary platform, to really take a second look at it and look into Gary. I'm sorry. Oh my God, Guy Kawasaki. I was going to say Gary. I was going to say Gary Vaynerchuk. I apologize. Sorry, Gary. But Guy wrote a wonderful book called What the Plus. It really helps you understand Google+ from the inside out. And there was a very little paragraph in there where it was just basically saying comparison between Facebook, because at the time there were a lot of people were comparing Facebook to Google+, and Guy was saying basically it's not the same thing at all. Facebook is for friends and family, and Google+ is for passions. So it's most likely the people you will find on Google+ are people who are like-minded and people who have the same interests as you. You can still get friends and family on there, but primarily, if it's just sticking to the photography community, it is huge on Google+. Trey Ratcliffe, Colby Brown, what's his name, Jeremy Coward. Also, wonderful, wonderful family. It's an unbelievable community, and the photography is insane. The way your photography is promoted, you know, the terms of service for your photography, the conversation you're supposed to have, the groups, the promotions, the events, the Google Hangouts. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful community. I'm slowly gravitating toward Google Plus as my main platform, but you know, Facebook still has its worth because again, that's where I started out with my page, and it's still where a lot of people come up with my news. But you have to understand that a lot of people will never be on Google Plus, same way a lot of people will never be on Twitter. And you have to understand that, you know, you always have an ear that's listening to you, and you need to make sure that you get your message out, which in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. One of my clients that I had been invited to photograph her wedding, Marilyn and David, she was following me on Facebook on my fan page, and I had no idea. And she was following me for a couple of years before she reached out to me. And it was just over that period of time when she really liked my message, how I handled myself with my client, my work, everything, just the entire package. And that's one of the things that we also need to be able to do is make sure that we keep our brand image, our personal you know, being, our personal business, whatever it is you want to think of yourself as, because in a way you are your own brand as a photographer, keeping it intact and keeping it consistent. There's a reason why companies like McDonald's and Starbucks are doing so well on a global level, because they are consistent regardless of what social media platform they're on, regardless of their advertising. You can pretty much get the same thing over and over no matter where you're at and what time of day. We need to be the same way on social media. And she loved that I was consistent, that she knew what to expect. She knew the language that I would be sharing and just how I am as a person. And the same thing on Google+, same thing on Twitter and everything else that's out there. Really dive into it. And before anybody wants to start sharing on these different social media platforms, I definitely encourage to learn about it. Learn what the terms and conditions are. Learn what the terms of service are. And if you're going to be sharing any photography, definitely learn about what to expect with that so you can avoid certain situations that could adversely impact your business or your work negatively in the future. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of that, because a lot of people think, well, if it's on Facebook, it's open source. No, it's not. It's not. It does, just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean anybody can use your work. And a lot of people have that misperception about Facebook's terms of service with photography and with video, with anything that you're putting on there. So there's a lot of things I do encourage people to learn about.
Facebook
it really needs to happen.
Lawyers and their legal team really well just to make sure that the legal terms and service, especially regarding your photography, because Facebook has become the next Flickr. It is the new repository, and with Instagram, the biggest repository of photography online. But Facebook knows that, and they've made the terms of service exceedingly complicated to understand, but you really need to understand what you're getting into. If it's on Facebook, it's not open source, but technically speaking, you're putting your photography at risk. And the way I approach it, I used to, again, when I was an early adopter, photo, yeah, put it on, this is what I shoot, this is what I shoot, this is what I shoot. A lot of people keep complaining, like, I don't see much of your photography on Facebook anymore. I'm going to say it right now, there's a reason for that. I have a website. You should check it out. I have a portfolio and I have a blog that I feel perfectly fine putting my photography there. And I personally, and it's not really like, okay, I'm not sacrificing anything. If I put it online, I do want to promote my work, and I do love what I do, and I do love to keep on creating because I have a lot of projects in my head, and I dive into the creative fuel. But at the same time, I keep telling myself, if it's online, it's like giving your kids up for adoption. You know it's gone, and you're basically giving away. Whatever happens, happens. And you basically, if you didn't think about watermarking or putting a copyright notice or making it really clear how you intend to have that work copied or distributed or reproduced in any way, you really need to check up on your own personal values in terms of how you consider your work, because your work in any way, shape, or form has worth. I'm not just talking about photography. I'm talking really about the creative process, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a painting, whether it's a movie, whether it's a short film, whether it's a script that you never thought would get written or picked up by anybody. It is dire that you understand that your work has worth.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to mention to everybody that's watching and listening as well that there is a bit of an epidemic happening right now in our industry. There are quite a few photographers that are plagiarizing content from other photographers. So be aware of that, you guys. Everything that comes out of my camera, everything that comes out of my mobile phone, anything that goes online For me, my work is at 4x6, that's 4 inches by 6 inches, and it's watermarked at 72 DPI. And when I do a small folder of photos on Facebook, I also state that the work is copyrighted, that my name is also copyrighted. It's also trademarked. These, I own this body of work. And my clients know that as well. But I also want to make it very clear that the work is not up for grabs by other photographers, by other artists, and things like that. So photographers are not immune to other photographers stealing from them. And sadly, that is happening right now. That is truly, truly happening. There's Photo Stealers has got that website now, I think, right?
It does.
They have the Tumblr page, but now they have
the Tumblr. They have the Tumblr, and if nobody ever heard about it, anybody watching, anybody listening should actually look that up. It's a Tumblr page that's so wonderful, and they actually show you the comparison between the photographer who's the original work and the comparison towards the theft, basically. And they do a side-by-side, and they show you where this work was stolen, and it's this is, again, the power and the beauty of the internet. Crowdsourcing, and a lot of people just mining those sites and see, okay, there's my work, there's my work, there's my work. And you, little photographer, like, you're just shooting and making art for yourself or for your clients, and you didn't even know that your work was being stolen. And it's a really sad fact when you have that wake-up call and like, wait a second, I never thought another photographer would actually steal my work. I thought that was like the unspoken rule between peers in the industry. Like, you would think that another creator would respect my work, but hey, lo and behold.
It is disturbing. It's quite disturbing, and I just really encourage everybody to just learn as much as you can about the social media platforms, because you got Facebook. I mean, I got a list right here: Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, Narcissistgram or Instagram, Foursquare, YouTube, and Pinterest. And there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to each. One of the great things about YouTube, Google+, these two particular platforms are basically brought together now, and it does impact your SEO. Definitely. Along with Twitter. That can impact your SEO as well. Hashtags are getting recognized on Facebook, but it is not put out across the internet yet.
Yeah, it's not cross-pollinating as a factor within your SEO. It's very important. Don't try to game the system, but be as present as you can.
Well, you can game it to a point.
To a point.
I don't know anybody that does that.
But what I'm trying to say is basically the way I've approached it personally, and that's over the course of the few years I've been doing this, is the fact that we're going back to the word brand, and again, you are your brand. So basically, you should control what is said about you and how your persona. Again, authenticity is very important because people smell BS from a mile away, especially through the internet. People will skewer you for your authenticity. They know when you're fake, and they know where you're real. Who I am is no different from what you see on my blog post, what you see on my Facebook, what you see on my Twitter feed. It's basically stuff that, again, I know my particular audience, I know who I'm speaking to, and even when I'm friends, I'm like, okay guys, today is marketing day, so I'm sorry for your streams today. Like, I'm totally sorry, but this is marketing day. And I have no problem. I play around, and I get a lot of new acquaintances, and I love it. Again, the internet is such a wonderful place, and again, you grow a kinship with people from all over the world, whether it's from Australia and India and France. I've got so many
Canada.
Newport Beach, California. It's insane, but you should be very mindful of the content that you promote and what you control. I believe David, not David, what's his name again? Frederick Van Johnson from This Week in Photo said it. It's like the El Dorado. You've got to stake claim of your name over the internet. You've got to be the reference. There's no mistake as to who that is online. Of course, there are a lot of people with your name all over the internet, but if in terms of marketing your photography, or just talking photography-wise, there should be no confusion as to who you're looking for. You've got to be able to be present as much as you can. It's taxing. It takes time, it takes consistency, it takes effort, it takes a lot of focus and drive, but nothing worth having isn't worth fighting for. It's really worth it because the internet is the new frontier. You've got to notice that your work has worth, and so do you. You are your own brand, and you have to cater to that and be very mindful of that, you guys. Everybody watching and listening, this is very important. Whatever work you create or promote, and David knows this, David's doing it very well. If you follow David on all across the platform, sometimes it's just like, does this guy sleep? But
Not
It's
really.
very important, and that talks to consistency. That's very important to always be mindful of your content and your media presence over the different social media platforms. There's no perfect one, like David said, and I do agree. There's pros and cons to everything. There's always compromise. There's always this one does well, this one does it a little less well. But hey, whatever works for you. There's always a good formula, but you have to see how the language works for you, and your clients would only thank you for it.
And be conscientious that social media is organic. And what I mean by that is that it changes on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. There are times of the day and certain days of the week that will be much more impactful for different content that you want to share, whether it be written word or photographs. I encourage everybody that's out there to get involved in a lot of the different social media groups that are online so you can learn about it, because just when I think I've got a total grasp on it and I'm really kind of getting it all dialed in,
They just
it's
flip it on you.
changing it again. Exactly. It's like when Google changes their algorithm. I remember when they did that a couple of years ago, and it crushed my entire web presence. I was keyword, focused, and all my content was very rich and it was very dynamic. And then Google changed their algorithm, and I went from owning the first 2 pages and sometimes first 3 pages for specific searches on Google to like the 16th page, the 20th page. They got kicked way back, way back. And it's been a struggle since then to get it back up. But I also know that my website is not my only presence, and I really want to encourage everybody to learn that. It's not just because you have a website up doesn't mean that you're going to get seen at all.
Everybody's got a website.
Everybody's got a website. I mean, your grandma making cookies has got websites now.
Everybody's got a website. Everybody's got a website, and you have to understand that it's not their own. Again, there you go. There you go.
The phone. You have to be able to be seen and found on your phone. If you're not, you're missing out, because right now more than 50% of the people that are doing searches are being done on their phones, and a lot of the millennials that are coming up, they're doing their searches on their phones as well. Everything from looking for a job to looking for a pair of shoes to wear to what to buy. Your website has to be mobile friendly as well.
QR codes, and it's going to be a lot of mobile photography. Again, most of the photographs being taken, the selfie has become a word. The selfie has become
finally.
It's not just a term. It is actually it is an environment. The selfie has become the new form. You were talking about narcissism. It's basically the selfie is the new way to identify and it's basically throwing out the message, I am here and I exist, and that is only done through your phone. You're not going to pick up a D3 and just basically put it aside from yourself, and you're like, okay, it's like you take this photo of myself with this big, huge, bulky camera. It's your phone. Nope. It's your phone. Your phone is where people find you. It's where people can reach you. It's where people are going to connect with you. Again, Facebook is basically through mobile. And the stats show it. It's a lot of people. What do you think your phone comes, and one of the default apps that are on there are always your Skype. You've got your Facebook and your Twitter. It's always going to be there, and that's for a reason. And they know this. The mobile presence and the mobile platform. You were talking about your website that you're so proud of. Your website, and I'm talking to everybody watching and listening, your website better be mobile friendly. There's nothing that annoys a client having to go to your website on their phone, and the website has not been modified or programmed for mobile present. It's just like, it's ugly, and it's like, I can't see anything, and I'm not going to wait till I get home till I get to my desktop and then look at the website. It might be pretty as hell, but it's not going to work. They're just going to go to the next photographer, and you just lost the client. It better be mobile ready. It's very important. I'm not sure if you agree about that. That's the way I see it. It's very important to actually be aware of what your clients are doing, how they're doing it, and how you can reach out to them. You need to get to them before, because again, people are lazy, and there's also that slight absent-mindedness where, again, it's a short attention span, and you've really got to be mindful of that. You've got 20 seconds to make an impact. It's the new dawn of the elevator pitch.
It really is. And think of it this way. Back in the day, there was Flash for your websites and things like that. The intro landing splash pages, get rid of it. Seriously, get rid of it. I have a landing page with a menu. It's like, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the blog, learn about me? Do you want to buy some cell phone cases, T-shirts, educational different programs like that? It's all right there, but that's mine. But if you have anything that's all animated and fancy, you've got music, turn the music off. Seriously. because the biggest complaint that I've seen in all the bride forums is that photographers that have music on their website, they don't want to have that turned on because more than likely they're checking out your website when they're at work and they're going to have their speakers on.
Guilty.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine like a bride's like sitting here? It's like that's going to be an instant turnoff. So really think about that. And as we're talking about with the amount of commitment with social media, for me, social media is a career within my career as a photographer. It's taken me numerous years to get to a point to where now I have an idea of like what I'm doing, where I'm going with it, and to be able to make sure my message is consistent, make sure it's fun. But the reality is my social media and all my research that I do every day, 7 days a week, unless I'm shooting, then it's a little bit smaller, is anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a day. That's pretty much almost like a work day within a work day for some people.
To be on social media and actually learning to understand the law of the land every day,
and
researching it, getting the feel. What are people talking about? What are the trends? What are the brides talking about? Bride forums. What are the photographers talking about? It's very important to be technology, the evolving importance of the certain gear, the disappearance of certain gear. Should we still offer these services? Is 3 months still a good turnaround for photos? What is going on? You need to get these talks, and you need to be part of that conversation. You can't just be sitting on the sidelines like, well, okay, I'm just waiting to the next email.
And also be wary of the arenas that you can talk within. Like I was just reminded this week that there's a reason why I don't really participate on too many photographer forums on Facebook, because everybody is hypersensitive and their little feelings will get hurt if you actually approach things with a real perspective.
I just stopped.
Oh yeah, this week there was a group that I was trying to talk with and to really just chat with and create a great dialogue with, and it just went from people taking offense to my question to then they started attacking me and started attacking me personally and professionally. I'm like, but this is supposed to be a group of photographers helping each other grow. That was a reminder to me on why I enjoy Google Plus a lot more, for associating with other photographers that have a desire and a zeal for learning and expanding their craft and wanting to make themselves better, as opposed to the popular crowd. If the popular crowd on Facebook, I know how to deal with all that, but it was just a very stark reminder for me this week.
It's a good refresher.
Yeah,
you realize who is talking and how they're talking. It happens. It happens. We all have that little moment of clarity where we realize, okay, this is why I do this, and this is why I don't do this. This is why I mostly will have this conversation here versus this is why I'm not having a conversation here. Like we're talking about the fact that you have to be approachable, you have to be able to have that dialogue, and you have to know who you're talking to. You have those pundits and you have those, I could say those zealots, again, that, okay, the purists, and okay, you should do photography this way, and that's when they go to your website, it's like, well, this photo that you posted, and how would you dare shoot it at like f.2, everybody knows you're shooting at f3.6 and not a dial lower. It's like,
infinity.
Really, this is not what I'm saying. You missed the point of my initial question, but this is where the comments and replies start getting flame war, and you're like, you have to disconnect. You have to disconnect. But Google Plus has been different in terms of that, because I haven't seen too many flame wars. If anything, I've seen more photographers get behind each other on certain situations where photos that have been pulled, or photographers whose work have been stolen, or photographers that have brushes with the law. Those are the type of photo conversation I see, and especially a lot of promoting other photographers' work, because when a photo really resounds and resonates with other photographers, it's going to get promoted, it's going to get shared, it's going to get plus, it's going to get talked about, and then the photographer gets, again, a lot of notoriety, and that's deserved. And then you get a lot of peer recognition. You don't do it for the pluses or the likes, but it's always good to see that that community is still very strong and very mindful of each other. And like you said, we just want to push each other forward and just like lift each other higher. And that's something I find a lot in Google Plus. Not a plug, but it's a truth. It's a truth.
It is. And it's very real. And if you do find yourself in a situation where people are starting to attack you, or whatever it might be, or it might be something a little bit negative, first of all, don't take it personally. There's a lot of trolls and keyboard commandos that are out there. I just basically, they're just cowards. So, and they get off on hurting other people and being very mean and spiteful. So just expect it if somebody does kind of chime in a negative way, and just let it be like water off a duck's back and just move on. And that will also shrink with time as well as grow with time, because the more that you're out there and you're growing as a professional and you're growing as a figurehead in social media, the more awareness that you're going to have, the more of an audience you're going to have. So the negative comments, from time to time may or may not happen, but expect it. In a way, it's kind of like a mini celebrity life that you're going to be living out there, and it can happen. But the greatest thing about social media is that it can help you grow with your business, and it'll help you grow as a person and as an artist. And being involved with other groups of other photographers on social media, and like he was saying, the pluses on Google, that's great if you're going to get a plus. Don't let it stroke your ego too much, but look at it in a sense like you've done something right in the right direction with your photography. You've done something right with your creative work, and it is attracting attention of others, and they're kind of giving you that professional, artistic, that nod. And that's
nice
great
to
to
reach
have.
out to peers, and peers know what's going on, and they're very mindful of your work and brand, and you have to understand that it's always, like you said, ego is very important. Put your ego to the side every day, every day in every way, no matter how many pluses or likes. That has nothing to do with the quality of your work. You should always strive to be better and elevate yourself in both your work and self, but it has to shine through. And it's always good to be part, because again, you can only benefit from surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. And it's something that you always have to, reach out for a helping hand. And it's not about, and you also have to pay it forward, because again, it's like going to the gym. You look to your left, somebody's can't do 2 push-ups. You look to your right, somebody's doing push-ups on their pinky finger. But you have to pay attention to where you are, and again, be mindful of the people you can learn from. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. Understand that every single day is a day for you to get better, and you can only learn. That social media presence is very important, because again, otherwise, how else would you have access to these professionals that you otherwise would never get in contact with? Like, you would not brush them in a coffee shop. You cannot. Some of the photographers I really admire are all the way across the world. It's something that's really important. But again, you reach out to certain people, and again, respond to your direct communication. If somebody's reaching out to you and asking for a question like, "Hi, David Esquire," or "I really like this photo," or "I really enjoyed this portfolio that I saw on your website," don't just leave it hanging. Even if it's like, "Thank you for following, and thank you for your kind message. It was so nice," and be sure to communicate and connect. Otherwise, that's rock star photographer that's too important to reply. Gary Vaynerchuk said it, and again, if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, you know that he's a Twitter addict. But he literally tells it to you. You have to answer to every single communication. Even if it's going to take you a week to get to the next one, but you have to. You just have to. It sounds impossible. It sounds ludicrous, but you have to, because it's one person that took a second out of their day, if we're just talking Twitter, to send you 140 characters because you impact their life in some way. So you should not discredit that in any way. And you owe your client, follower, or whichever you want to call it, that much respect, because they do take the time to consider you as part of their little moment in life. And that's something that you should not discredit, because it does matter.
Absolutely. It 100% matters. And like you said, it takes time, but it's worth it. In the long run, it's totally worth it. And you find your groove. Eventually, you will find your groove in terms of how to deal with social media and how much time to invest and how to do it, and really keeping up on things. And at times, I find myself where it's like, wow, I'm done this fast. Okay, cool. All right, great. Move on to the next project, whatever it might be. And you'll find that. You really, really will. But just give yourself time, and give yourself the patience, and give yourself the respect that you deserve to be able to find your way in social media, and look at everybody else. And also, I'm guilty of it at times, but don't be such a hashtag freak like I am sometimes. But I'll do that every now and then. I've kind of dialed it back, but just kind of be wary of that, because it can be annoying. The best thing I could suggest is, if you do want to have hashtags in your postings, like on Facebook and other platforms, have your content first. If you're going to have a photograph, have your photograph, have your content, and then have your hashtags. It's kind of like an index. And it really kind of keeps it a little bit cleaner as well. And also, brevity is key. So you want to make sure that your message is kept pretty concise as well. People don't want to read anymore.
People don't want to read. People don't want to read. That's why infographics are so popular, because, again, it's just one clear-cut information about one very specific topic. But reading an entire article, sometimes I find it, even writing an article as a blogger myself on one of my blogging, sometimes I realize, like, okay, I realize that somebody's going to be reading through this, so I better be clear, and I better be working, like, make it worth their while if I'm going to write this down. Same thing for me. If I'm reading an article, if I'm going to sit down and actually read this, because I try to stay informed as much as I can. I really, 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 really have to take the time to actually read, because again, you're reading and watching is something that's different. You respond differently to words, whether in image. That's why images have a lot more impact. And if you're going to have a message, make it clear, make it concise, make it direct, because people just don't have the time to read anymore. That's why Audible is so popular. People just don't have time to read. They just don't. It's not out of laziness. It's just people are mindful of their time. It is a time out of their life. And if they're going to read your article, it better be worth it. Better be worth it.
Totally.
We're running up to the top of the hour, but we still. I just want to get. I guess we're gonna. It's so fast. It's so enlightening, man. But you know what? I think we're gonna just leave that little photo critique, that little photo news we wanted to get into. I know it was important for us to actually get into that. I'm not sure if you want to get into it, or we'll hold it for the next one. For the
other thing.
Yeah, the other thing.
The thing that's very colorful.
Yeah.
Color being the key word. Survival.
Survival. It's important. It's important. We should get into it, because I don't want to.
We should address it.
I think we should address it.
Because we touched on it a little bit.
We touched on it a little bit. It was part of our initial conversations, and it does matter. It's something that we really want to get back into, because it's part of us trying to educate people. And if you haven't heard, guys. And it is part of social media, because social media helped us find the news and help the user, the person we happen to actually get the word out. So I'm just going to summarize it really quick for the listeners and viewers. If you haven't heard, of course there's this.
Wait a minute. We need dramatic theme music. We need the dramatic theme music.
Dun, dun, dun. In a world where photography is always at stake, and you never know how people are going to promote your work. I'm going to try to summarize this as much as I can. If you guys haven't heard of it, if you guys love to run, of course you know there are a gazillion marathons running for charity, and there's always a wonderful little event that you can join in and actually have fun. If you haven't heard from it, it's a wonderful marathon organization called the Color Run. Just look it up, the Color Run. And basically what happened is that they reached out to a local college student who basically was sitting around with his friends photographing the event. Posted the photos on Facebook, and then somebody from the Color Run organization reached out to him as the media coordinator / photographer. You'll find a link in the show notes for the people who are watching, and when the video goes live, when the video goes up on Facebook for the rebroadcast, you actually have the show notes to the story that I have to thank Chase Jarvis for posting this initially, and then I got that most of the details on the f-stoppers. But back to the story. So they reached out to the photographer. Okay, hi, we'd love to use your images, and as always, we'll give you honest representation to our gazillion numbers of members. Right. From the photographer's personal account. And this is something I've been guilty of. When you get that experience, somebody reaches out to you, is like, we love your work so much, we won't pay you, but we'll talk about you a lot to people we know. That's basically what it means. So from the photographer's account, he's like, I was so honored, and it was such a great opportunity. I was just starting out as a young photographer. I was so honored to have such a big organization promote my work. So I didn't think about it. Months later, fast forward to it, he walked into a department store, and when you just walk into the sports section, and hey, lo and behold, there's my photo on banners and posters and walls, and everywhere. I didn't get everywhere, and I didn't get notification, I didn't get compensation, I was not even represented, no photo cred, nothing. But these are my photos. So this is where it gets dicey. He reaches out to the Color Run again, like, hello, Color Run. I noticed that you used my photos without my permission, and you said that you would represent me appropriately, but I'm not feeling the love here. Is there some way that I could get some recognition or compensation? And they basically blew him off. And when I mean blew him off, I mean in the form of a lawsuit. They sued the photographer for abusing and theft of his work that they used. Do you get this? It just does not compute. That does not compute. So this is where we are, listeners. It's because, again, we're back into the realm of your work has worth. I'm going to say it again. You have to understand that I've been there. I've been guilty of that. You reach out. You want to do good. Karma's great. You want to get your work out. You're a struggling photographer. Any form of recognition is good as long as your work is out there. Hey, A bunch of people are going to see my photos. Great, awesome, on Facebook. But here you are. You didn't read the contract properly because, again, yes, David, I'm playing devil's advocate, because if your photos ended up there, chances are that in their mind, there's somewhere in there, in the legalese that said, because in the contracts that I've seen, the people basically said, yes, we love you so much that we won't pay you, and by the way, we own your work. You're basically signing it off. So I didn't look into all the legal papers because all the papers, all the file documents, all the legal filings are online. I didn't have the time to go all over through it, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm just looking at it from the devil's advocate perspective. The company is definitely wrong because it is theft of work. But the photographer as well should have been better advised as to how you choose to give out your work. That situation under those circumstances is a flat-out no. No amount of exposure, no amount of representation or opportunity is worth it, because you know why? Because in the end, you end up as that photographer that worked for free.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I've had people come up to me and use the argument, well, it's no different than music. I have the biggest discussion with that, basically, to be able to say, well, people know what Mick Jagger's voice sounds like. People know what Frank Sinatra's voice sounds like. People know what Merle Haggard's voice sounds like. But people are going to look at your photograph and they're going to go, well, who shot this? Now, that was a great story that he just shared. But it got even more interesting because it's as if that wouldn't be the only one that happened since
you would think.
This past couple of days, it just came to light. In fact, I shared it yesterday. There is a photographer, again, that had shared a piece of her work on Facebook, or is it Flickr? Flickr or Facebook? I have to look again just to make sure. But it was on social media. Mm-hmm. I think it was Flickr. And she had shared this one particular photograph from her farm of some chickens and some eggs. Well, lo and behold, Survival Magazine steps in, doesn't ask her for permission to use the photo. They took it without asking or anything. She found out about it. She even saw it on Facebook and commented like, hey, that's my photograph. Her watermark was cut off of the photograph. The magazine, in turn, responded with a very scathing email. And on top of that, publicly on Facebook, and I'm just going to have to use a little profanity here, one little word, but the magazine referred to this particular photographer as an asshole for demanding payment and calling him out publicly on them stealing and using her copyrighted intellectual property. That I thought was extraordinarily brazen, really just blows me away.
I just don't understand how that happens.
Like, they stole the word. Yeah. They stole it, used it, and used slanderous language publicly in ink. Because it's, to me, anything in social media or on the internet is done in digital Sharpie. So even if you delete it, it's still there.
It's still there.
It's not going anywhere. And you can go back and you can revive the caches, and it's all stored at the Library of Congress and blah, blah, blah.
It's all there.
But the bottom line is it's still there. It's never going away. And that is turning into be this very embarrassing situation. And to make it even more public and that much more global, there's a magazine called Adweek, and they are running a full-length story documenting this entire process and how this is coming together, what's going on with this, and just it's quite embarrassing, I'm sure, for the magazine, and it's, I'm sure, creating a very big legal debacle for them as well. But be prepared for this, you guys. Like, I've got contracts that are 4 pages long, and my legalese is dialed in. When a company like AEG Worldwide, which owns the Staples Center, when their legal team can look at my contract for an event that I did for them, and basically they pointed out 3 grammatic errors, everything else was fine. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty good about that situation, knowing I'm protected, their best interests are protected, everybody's on the same page. Now, also expect that if you demand payment or demand your name being on it, and people don't like it, you don't want those clients. You will lose clients. No. I've had my fair share of clients that I've lost, some of which that I worked with for very long periods of time, and then they just decided to change the way that they wanted to handle things. I'm like, no. And never, ever, 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 ever give up copyright. Never, ever give away the right to your
images, ever.
I got more than 3 decades under my belt of shooting, and I've never given up copyright to one photo. And I really want to encourage you guys to do the same. Facebook can use your photos when you put it online, but once you delete it, then they're no longer allowed to use it, but you can prohibit them from using your photos provided that you don't put like 24 by 36 size photos and they're not watermarked. I mean, everything that comes out of my phone on my iPhone is watermarked, you guys. Everything. The watermark app is like $2, and it's a business expense. So what?
It's a business expense.
Exactly. I mean, I've got the Nokia 1020. I love this particular phone. I love the camera. In fact, when I was in India, I didn't take out my Canon DSLR for my little excursion for 3 hours. I took this, and that was it. And I was quite sufficient with that.
That's all you
quite
need.
happy with it. But everything that's in here that was recorded will not go online without a watermark. So you guys, we really want to stress to you to protect your best interest.
It really doesn't matter.
That, you're protecting the people in the photograph, because like what we were talking about before the show, is that there is a model. She had a photo shoot. The photographer posted the photos on Flickr, and an AIDS company came in, took the photo, like flat out stole it, used it for an ad campaign, and this model is suing the company because, first of all, she doesn't have AIDS. Second of all, she's being misrepresented, so it's libel, it's slander, it's a million things going on.
It's a million things going wrong, and the company is just running with it. It's like, oh, it's no big deal.
Oh,
it's like,
and they think, it is a big deal. It truly is. So think in terms of the people that you're capturing in these images. You're a representative of them, too. You've got to have their best interest at heart. Model releases are key. So
that's the reason why people want to work with you, and that's the people want to work with you in the first place. Because again, how are you using my images? And this is why, even when I shoot weddings, and I tell them, if I use this work, again, like I'm going to use these images just to promote recent work. But if in any way you don't want me to use this, I will more than gladly take them down, because I want a good relationship with my clients. I don't want any reason to actually make them doubt of my intentions as to how I will use their likeness in any way, shape, or form. They're my images, but at the same time, these are people. And in any way, shape, or form, do I want to make the person feel like they're a victim. I'm using them. Nobody wants to be used in any situation. And those are three actually, thanks for the third one, are three very good examples of how photographers have a responsibility to protect their work. And I really emphasize the word protect. Look to your individual copyright laws wherever your location is. Look and read the terms of service on different social media platforms, because they vary from place to place, and it's very important. And again, companies are very aware of that too. Companies that respect you, companies that know you, company will do whatever it takes to make sure that they're using your product fairly. But you will find, and we talked about peers, and we talk about companies as well. Those are perfect examples where people just don't care. Oh, it's just a photo. It's online anyway, so it's free. I can take it. I can just take it with a copy mark, crop it, and the work is done. They'll never find out. It's just like got a gazillion pictures. He's a rock star photographer from Canada. Like no. I put it in. I put it in. I put in the work hours, and I put in the time, and I put in the concern to actually make sure that my work is fairly represented. And this is even a time where I'm looking at the legalese in my contracts, and I'm making sure, like, you know what, maybe I should modify this. Maybe I should pay more attention. And again, nothing goes out if I don't approve it. If it's out, it's out, and I'm like, okay, I know it's gone. But in terms of my professional work, again, I'm a lot less active, photographically speaking. But it's not that I'm not producing work. I'm just not sharing it. And there are reasons for that. These are personal reasons, these are professional reasons. Because again, moving forward, I just want to build my brand and keep going forward and protect my work. But at the same time, I'm also very mindful of the fact that people out there, unfortunately, don't respect my work as well as they should. And again, we're not talking about the whole of the internet, but you have to be mindful of what you do and where you're going. It's just like going out to a new location or to a new restaurant. If you're allergic, you want to look at the menu. If you're going to put your work out there, you want to be mindful of what is likely to happen to it if you conduct yourself in a certain way. And there is an example of people who do not respect your work, who do not respect you, and who are going to legal lengths to actually sue you. They actually sue the college students.
Try to destroy you.
To try to destroy you for your own work. And these are things that will happen. These are not news stories. These are just the most recent ones. And these will happen and happen again. So guys, whoever's watching and if you're listening, understand that this is very, very important. This is something you should be very mindful of in how you choose to broadcast your work and how you make it available. David mentioned watermark, apps, your phone, that has property, that has value. Again, watermark apps are a dime a dozen, and if you're just putting out selfies, it might be like, the last photo you ever take of this monument that doesn't exist anymore. And you have to pay attention to the fact that every single photo you take, every work you create, it has worth. Let's just understand this, and it's very, very important. The watermarking. Everybody's like, oh, I'm not gonna just put a huge watermark over my photo because it dilutes the worth of my work and it does not convey the message in the. Dude, really, really, seriously. If I really have to, if I'm distracted so much by your watermark that I can't appreciate your image, it's not a great image to begin with. Like, it's like, I'm sorry.
I was thinking it, but you said it.
It's seriously. It's like a good joke, a good image. I love this little comic strip online. If you guys are not following it, you should actually go to whattheduck.net.
Yes.
It's such a funny comic strip, but for photographers, photography jokes every week. The guy just understands photography, and this is the best one I ever saw. Was like, a good photograph is like a good joke. If you have to explain it, it's not good.
That's right.
That's basically it. And I'm not trying to be cocky, but just be mindful of your work. And again, watermarking there's nothing wrong with watermarking. There are purists. There's team watermark. There's team no watermark. But whatever works for you. I choose to. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. But any work I should promote and anything that's going to go forward is definitely going to have a watermark. Or there are little programs that you can insight a little image where basically if you go into the metadata, there's going to be a signed copyright inside of the file. The beauties of Photoshop. But you can look into that. There are many ways to protect your work, guys. So watermark is the least of your worries. Be worried about the guy that's going to make money or actually steal your work or deface it and use it misguidingly and actually slander your work, and that's not cool. That's just not cool. Seriously. Oh, we're coming up to the top of the hour. It's nearly like, well, we got a little time left. I'm just going to get our little Easter egg in that I put it in, and I just wanted to get that in. Da, da, da. This is just you guys. Duran Rex! If you guys are watching the video, they've got Duran Rex photobombing the broadcast, as always.
Out of control. Like,
out of control, that guy. But I just want to let you guys know that we are listening to you, and I've gotten those comments up and up, and I have to give a props to my friend Jasmine, who was very intent because we had a long conversation about that over dinner recently, and she told me, like, I love you, and I love you guys. You guys do some great content, but the thing is, I almost don't have time to spend an hour and a half doing a live broadcast or rebroadcast on YouTube. So I listened, and she was like, she specifically said, if it were available on podcast audio, I would love it and download it in a second. So, as of this posting, if you go to the most recent post for episode 1 and 2, you will find under the video, you'll see a wonderful little link, direct link for audio available here. So as of this posting, I'll be doing my best, not just for the posting of the rebroadcast, but also the audio version of this episode, and every episode going forward. So I hope this helps you guys, like, keep carrying the broadcast with you. David, I'm not sure if it's something that that you think is going to make an impact, but I certainly do believe so. But because, again, people, I understand YouTube can't just be sitting down there on your phone and just like watching us for an hour and a half, even though, like, we're wonderful and dashing. But I understand that, the audio version, if it can make our content reach that much more of an audience, and if it can make your lives that much easier for sharing the content and sharing our insight and recommendations, all the best, and it's a pleasure to keep making this content available. RSS feeds and iTunes going to come a little bit later because I'm still working some tweaks out, just making the broadcast available in that format. But definitely, we're going towards iTunes, and we're going to make it. We're trying to promote as much as we can because we're looking to empower, we're looking to inspire, we're looking to educate. This is what this platform is for.
Elevate.
And this is elevate, as always, going forward, going up. Not drag you down or drive you down. This is always about building yourself up, whether through your craft, your photography, or your being, or yourself. It's a very important. So I just want to get a little of that in there because it's a feature that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. So look out for that, guys. Look forward to the show notes, and I'll definitely let you know when the episodes go up going forward. Cool. David, I'm not sure if you had some parting words for our listeners. I'm not sure if we covered pretty much everything we wanted to say for today. I think we covered pretty much
quite
everything.
A bit. We covered quite a bit. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on social media. I'm everywhere out there, so there's no reason why you can't find me.
David, Esquire Photography, it's everywhere.
And Facebook messaging is not consistent, so you guys watch out for that. There's the other folder that sometimes your messages can get put into, so watch out for that when you're dealing with your clients. And I've had situations where I've sent people messages and they never got it, and vice versa. So there's multiple platforms to be able to reach us. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a note on Facebook, Twitter, my email, my website, blah, blah, blah. It's all out there.
What is this email that you speak of? It's like,
I know.
What is that? Who uses email anymore?
Snail mail?
But email still works. Email still works. Don't discredit it. Don't discredit it. Again, you have to be available because, again, you have to be mindful for the fact that, yes, there are people who are not on social media. So give them a phone number, give them an email. It works perfectly. Go to your website, look for us on Facebook, look for us on social media, look at all platforms. I'm all over the place. I'm Twitter. I'm at Olivier Day on Twitter. You can go to my website, olivierday.ca. I'm all over the place, and you just Google me, and chances are you'll find me on my Facebook page. And you had something to say? What? I'm sorry?
Yes, I just remembered. The new domains are coming out. I just purchased two more domains today.
Seriously?
So, yeah, the .photography domains are coming out.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I just purchased David Esquire.photography and Esquire.photography. They're not live yet on the internet, but those just came out, you guys. So definitely get online and take a look at the new domains that are coming out. It's pretty cool. So secure if anything, secure your name.
You heard it here first. The new domains are coming out. See, Esquire Photo is still coming through for you guys. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Definitely.
And there's one more way to be seen.
There's definitely catering to that to a very specific clientele. Because it doesn't have to be .com or .net or .org or whatsoever, but you have to be able to have that much media online real estate as you can. It's going to be something that's definitely worthwhile. I'm going to go on that.
Secure your name.
Secure the name. Secure the name. Yeah. Gotta do that. David, thanks so much again for such a wonderful discussion, full with so much content. I banked on it. It was a very exciting episode. It was just a little bit over what we wanted to do for the time, but still, it was very important to get those. It was quite a bit, a lot of content, but we got that out. I hope everybody got some form of insight. And again, reach out to us, you guys. Look for the rebroadcast of this live episode and the audio version for those listening sometime soon. But as soon as it goes live, just keep a lid on Twitter and Facebook and all types of social media to keep an update. But as always, thank you, David, and again, welcome back. We're happy to have you back, and we'll be looking for future projects and keeping in touch with you all over Instagram and Facebook. And again, thank you so much for your insight. As always, it's always nice to be sitting down with you and to share all these great opportunities about photography and getting better. And again, always signing off from Candiac, Quebec. And from Newport Beach, California. David, sign us off.
I'll see you soon.
Have a great night, David. You do take care.
Cheers.